Hello everyone and a very warm welcome. Good evening. It's 8 o'clock in the UK on the 16th of March 2021, and I'd love to welcome Mary and Lorraine, Alison, Caroline, Dawn, Ethna, Francis, Jill, Jane, Kay, Pamela and Susan to our live chat. Should we wave and say hello to anyone watching the replay? Welcome to you. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. So it's really nice to see you all here live. Not tonight's obviously, it's not just about me talking to you. We'll have some sort of breakout time so you can chat as well. And this is much more informal really than all the other things I do, in as much as it's really great if you jump in, if you've got anything to add. This is Harpist Hive Mind at its best, isn't it? Tonight, actually Mary's just said that she sent me an email, which I have to say I haven't picked up, but if I type your name in, I'm sure it will come up on my email stream if it's arrived.
Okay.
Was it an email or was it a message somewhere else? I was entering Patreon. I have an important Zoom earlier. No, that was last month. That was last time. No, I don't think I've had it, Mary, somehow. It's got stuck in the I don't know what.
I think it might have been a reply on Facebook, but don't worry. It was a question for later, so I'll tell you then.
Okay, fine, no problem. Okay, brilliant. And what I was going to say was that tonight I haven't got very many questions. Now, I've been running Start Harp since 2016, and we always have a Q&A every other week. And I remember very early on, well, not very early on, I remember a few times when I was like in my first year of it, at the beginning of term, everyone always has hundreds of questions and it's trying to cram everything in, blah, 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 as quickly as I can. And then the term goes on, and towards the end of the term, there are much less, there are only a few questions. But then that's when the real magic tends to happen, because people ask the thing they didn't dare ask at the beginning because they didn't want to take up the time, or they thought it was a bit silly or anything like that. So we don't have very many questions tonight yet, but I have a hunch that very often it turns into being the best sessions ever. So I encourage you and nay challenge you to think of some questions while you're sat there for me, or for the Harpist Hive Mind for us to discuss. People do keep arriving as well, so we've got some late arrivals. I'm just letting in Linda. Marvelous. Okay, so first of all, I would like to officially grovel, which is how I tend to start most of my things, it seems, by saying I'm sorry I haven't sent out the Dynamic Harps Virtual Ensemble recording details. First of all, don't panic. I will move the deadline because of that. I'm not going to expect you to turn things around in like 3 days for me. That's just never going to happen. So you will definitely have 2 weeks lead in from whenever I send it. What I have discovered is that our very first ensemble last year was on the 20th of April, and I want to mark that year by releasing Springtide of Hope. So that's the deadline for the release date, which does take a bit of pressure off, because it usually takes us about 2 weeks to put the videos together. So it's fine. It will be fine. I will extend the date. I imagine it's going to be just after Easter, the deadline date now. In fact, I did look, but I just hadn't quite decided whether to give it Easter Monday or not. I suppose it doesn't matter, because if you don't want it to be over the Easter weekend, you can do it earlier, can't you? So yeah, I think I thought the 5th of April, sorry, to make as our deadline. So let's make it that. Let's say it will be the 5th of April. And then if you don't want it to mess up Easter weekend, you just have to be really organized and do it early, won't you? Okay, so that is still happening, and basically I just had a bit of a collision. I'm finishing my pop course. I was starting a modes course, and there was the immersion came out at the same time on the same weekend, this weekend, and all the other things that are going on. So anyway, I'm sorry, but it will come, and it will be wonderful when it does. So there we are. That's the first thing. Second of all, tonight's topic, overview topic, I just wanted to talk a little bit about motivation. So I don't know how you guys are getting on, being motivated to play at the moment. I think you guys are all pretty keen, actually. That's why you're here, which is marvelous. So I think you're probably all right, but I thought it might be fun to share some ways that we kind of help motivate ourselves, either back in the real world or just in the current climate, so I thought that would be interesting to discuss. So we'll do that in our breakouts when we first break and chat. And first of all, Pamela, you asked me a question that got very beautifully answered by the rest of the group, in fact, didn't you? You asked about how to put your harp to bed, didn't you? So it's a nice question. So we have the levers on our harps, and we have obviously the pedals on the pedal harps as well. And as soon as they're engaged on the strings, if you think that they're pressing onto the strings, they're making contact onto that string, and therefore they're making that string tighter, aren't they? That's how they raise the pitch. So it's very good of us to take all the pressure off the levers, and all the pressure off the strings. In theory, it's better for your soundboard, because you got less pressure and tension on the soundboard, because there's a huge amount of pull going on, isn't there, all the time. So it helps that. And of course, if you haven't got a little thing cutting into the side of your string, it, you know, in theory, it makes your string life longer as well, because the string's not so taut and it's not pushed into. So it is really great if you can remember to leave all your levers down, or all your pedals in the natural position. And I think the second thing you asked, Pamela, is whether we put them, you know, whether to put them in a bag or not. Now, we all get sold or given or whatever dust covers, don't we, with harps? I'm sure you've all been given dust covers, have you? Yes. How many of you put your harps dust cover on your harp after you play every night? Oh, well, there's some gold stars in the room. Okay, very good. Okay, you are very, very good. I have to say that I don't, but you know, they are there because getting dust in the harp is not ideal. So of course it makes sense to use the dust cover. I've always sort of felt, well, I never have, because I've always found that if my harp was covered up, like if I, you know, back in the day, I have more than one harp now, but back in the day, you know, I would come home from a gig and leave the covers on, and I was far less likely to practice if the cover was on the harp than if I used to have to be very disciplined and try to always immediately take the cover off, put the covers away, so it was there looking tantalizing straight away. So, you know, for me, I at some point just decided I wasn't going to use dust covers. But if you don't use dust covers, you do have to do a little bit more TLC for your harp, and when it comes to dust. So I was recommended to have a very soft paintbrush, not one you've ever used, you know, a slightly, you know, not a tiny one, not like a watercoloring one, but, you know, literally a soft one that's slightly wider, that you can then just dust the levers down, dust all the mechanism down on the top of the harp, so that you're not allowing dust to settle in there for ages. So if you go down the route of no dust cover, then you do need to get out your little paintbrush and just check in, because if you think about it, you know, there is a certain amounts of oil in our harps, isn't there? And then, you know, if the dust's going to come down on them, we don't want things to get not work for us, or to get gritty, or to, you know, or any of the other mishaps that can happen on the levers. So it's just a good idea. So I've been told, and of course I do that, you know, at least every 2 weeks. I go around all my harps with my paintbrush and dust them. So yes, there we are. That's the advice that I was given. So yeah. So there we are. That's Pamela. Was that enough for you to know? I mean, the other things I'm sure you know about is things like not keeping your harp near a radiator, because it, you know, it shouldn't get too warm, and not keeping it by a bright window, because it will get loads of sunlight on it, and again that changes the temperature, and it will darken the soundboard if you don't want it darkened. And so there's all these other things, you know, and also even the I can't think of the right word right now. We'll get there. The humidity of the air can affect the harp as well, which is why we tend to break strings if, you know, suddenly there's going to be a thunderstorm and all the air pressure changes and the humidity changes. Quite often you'll find that you break thunderstorms at changes of seasons as well. Strings often break more when you go heading into the winter or heading back into this, you know, into the warmer weather. So yeah, so try to keep it a constant heat, you know, not too differing light sources, and not too differing in humidity. So you'll hear people talking about, make sure there's a plant in the room with your harp, and I'm looking around and realizing that I definitely left my plant to not have enough water, and it's no longer in this room. So that was another thing that I was told once, was to keep a plant in the same room as your harp. And if you live somewhere very humid, then, you know, or, you know, I lived in a very old house for a while. We had a dehumidifier. So, you know, those are the things that I've been told over the years. So yeah, does that answer your question, Pamela? Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, brilliant. And I've just seen a bit of a question coming from Susan, which says, I missed the Butterfly Festival immersion. Can I still purchase the class? Susan, if you are, I can't remember which tier you're in, but you've got access to, you're in 3. Okay, yes, you can still purchase it then. Yes, absolutely, of course you can. It's all, the videos all went up for the first time ever, I think. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It wasn't that class. They're not up yet, but the replay of the entire session is up, so you can immediately jump in and get the 2 hours as a block. And the edited videos I'll be working on over the next sort of 48 hours. So yeah, I can send you a link for that. I'll do that when you guys are chatting. Okay, Francis said, I thought I'd missed something. Okay, yes, so that was, Francis is referring to the session. Okay, Rebecca, you are here now, aren't you? So hello, I think that's you. Yes, it is. I'm sure it's you. You're not a hacker, are you, behind that telephone number, Rebecca? Is that Rebecca? Hi. I'm sure it is. Rebecca asked me a question today, which is, well, she didn't ask me a question. You posted a question related to the pop course, but I thought I would actually bring this up because I think it is relevant to everyone. So is that you, Rebecca?
Yes, hi, thank you.
Okay, Rebecca, I'm just going to talk then about your question about the looper and the ways you might use it to play parts together and things like that.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, brilliant. So fantastic. So if those of you who aren't already aware, I think you all are because you've seen me play enough, loop pedals are things that, you know, any musician can use, and they're really a guitar pedal originally, but if you're electroacoustic, you can plug into them. And what they do is they allow you to record what you're doing live in when you're playing, and then they allow you to have that recording of the thing you just did go round and round in a loop, so that you can then play over the top of it. So if I think it's plugged in. Yes, it is. Okay, so just on a very basic demo, you know, if you did, oh, I'm in the wrong key. Never mind. You're gonna get a minor version of Frere Jacques. So you can hear you've got the two parts now. Allows you, I'm sure you all knew about this, but it allows you to layer up your parts. Now, Rebecca has been playing with the idea of maybe having a looper in your life, haven't you, Rebecca? And I know that I've talked to other people who weren't so keen on using it kind of performance for performance, but perhaps for using it for practice purposes. Because can you hear that it means you can hear different lines going together? So in theory, you could play in an ensemble part into it, couldn't you? And then you could play the next part on top and the next part on top, and you could hear your ensemble parts going that way. Well, that is, you know, a theory that would totally work. And I think Rebecca, and actually it's what I do in dynamic harps, but I just do it in small segments. I don't do the whole piece through the looper, but you hear me in the ensemble where I record harp 1's part for 8 bars, and then harp 2 parts and harp 3 parts. So it does work, but what we've been talking about in the pop course is the fact that for it to loop effectively, and certainly early days, and I think that most people would agree anyway, whenever they're using it in their life, shorter loops are much easier. So Rebecca and I'd sort of done a video, hadn't I? And I said, short loops, everyone must use short loops. It's the only way. And of course, that's not true. You can do longer things. And Rebecca said, oh, well, I was thinking of doing a counter melody and playing a melody and then a counter melody with it. And of course you can, Rebecca. And I was thinking, now, Jill, you're here, so you can correct me on the pronunciation of this, but it's Merch Megan and Eures Megan. Yes, is that okay? Is that good enough? Diane, thank you very much. Okay, so these are 2 Welsh tunes that go together. Let's see if I can, I probably can't remember them. I might be able to remember them. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna be really buzzy, I think, tonight because I've cut my nails, but okay. So let me just clear that for you. So, so I've just put that through the looper. So that's just the A part of that tune. So you can hear Rebecca and everybody, that was 2 lines. So you had the first one, and then you had the and they both have a B section, and actually there's a lever change, or there's an accidental or something, or maybe it goes into the minor. Anyway, it involves doing something with levers or pedals, I believe, the next part of it, which is why I haven't remembered it or put it into the looper tonight. But Rebecca, I know I did this particular duo of songs once for a St. David's Day concert, I think probably about 3 years ago. And I wanted to show on my own the fact that the 2 songs went together, you know. So so what I did was I played the first tune, I played the second tune, and then I did loop the 2 together. But with all the things we've talked about with looping, of how to keep things steady and keep them rhythmical, shorter is best. I don't remember. Maybe I just did the A section like I just did, because that's much shorter than doing a whole song. But I may have done this, and I was thinking about this, you know, when you are doing loops, the more, and then when you're doing anything, guys, you know, so not looping or not, when you are playing solos or duets or anything like that, it's the more notes there are, the easier it is. So how often when you've played in an ensemble, some of you, have you noticed that if there's a big gap for the whole ensemble, and then you all have to come back in, how often do you get the effect where nobody comes quite in at the same beat? They're all slightly out with one another. Whereas if somebody's constantly in the background going like this, then it's much easier for everyone to come back in time, because you're hearing for instance, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So it's very, if you mark every quaver, every 8th note with something, or even the 16th note. So again, those of you in dynamic harps, you're familiar with me adding a part that's not written in things sometimes when I know I want to help keep us in tempo. Together, then I will often fill with extra notes, and that is why. So Rebecca and anyone who wants to use a looper for longer loops, the secret will be to, if you do, it will be to add in lots and lots of 8th notes or 16th notes, so lots of quavers or semi-quaver notes, whether that is percussive wise or note wise. So it might be, you know, that I wouldn't do it like this because I wouldn't do it to this tune, but you know, you could do da 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 ba da da dee da 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 da. You could literally into the looper just be thinking of your tune. So then you got the rhythm, and then it will be much easier than to put the chords in, and you might then just go straight in with just chords. And this is a bad loop, but I'll just do it anyway. Okay, it's not a great example, but what I did try to do there and didn't manage it was to put a rhythmic line in and then put the chords in, and then once you got the bed underneath, then it's easy to put those 2 lines over the top. And this is just the same if you're working with an ensemble, isn't it? In a way, you know, if you layer things up, and if you have, it's much easier for a group, particularly depending on our ability, you know, to have one lot of people in charge of keeping everyone in time by having something regular going on underneath, and one group of people in charge of one tune and one group of people in charge of another tune, then very often it can, you know, or you all have to play the same tune, and that's also easier. But once you start dividing bits out, it becomes harder for the group to stay together. So think of the looper like being your ensemble. Anyway, but finally, everyone, I hope this is vaguely useful for some of you, or just interesting if not. If you are wanting to just hear how your parts go together, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I think I might get a looper because then I could play in the left hand or play in the right hand and practice my left hand underneath and get to hear how the 2 parts go together. And of course, that's a really logical, sensible idea, but this would be a very expensive way to do that, because, you know, you could just record it onto your voice memo thing on your phone, or you know, or something, so you just get the one bit, and I know it's then annoying because you have to press the button to start it rather than the foot pedal. You can get pedals that link up, of course, but probably the better thing to know, just to know that if you give yourself a 2-bar count in before you do the first recording, if you were using a voice memo on your phone, for instance, if you went 1 2 3 2 2 3, or even 4 bars, however long you feel it might take for you to tap play, put it down, be ready at your harp again to go, you know. So so if for those of you, anyone here who's thinking, oh, I could use that, because I've heard a lot of people say it to me, I could use that to practice hearing the parts together, maybe think of your of a voice memo recording or something on your computer. If you want to do it with longer loops, Rebecca, I suppose my big thing is just to get used to doing short loops, so you get used to the tech, you get used to staying really strongly in tempo. Then maybe, yes, use a clicker track to help you, like you do with the ensemble recordings for the virtual ensemble, and then think about whether you can put something in first. I'm pretty sure when I did this, I put in chords. I probably even put in the higgledy-piggledies. By higgledy-piggledies, I mean the first one is 1 2 3 4 5 6. In fact, they're in 3 4 and 6 8, these 2 tunes, I think, which is why they sound so great together. But 1 2 3 4. I don't know whether I've done I can't remember the chord pattern, and I've got a D tune note there as well. But you get the idea, you know, if you put in the higgledy-piggledies, the 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3, you've got all the quavers marked, and you're more likely to stay in time as well. The longer the loop is, the more likely you are to drag on tempo. You've heard me do it in Dynamic Harps Virtual Ensemble, particularly because I'm often, I remember there was one night where I don't know how I got so distracted, but I was just like, it went off and then it got slower and slower, and it was the worst loop I've ever done. I still think of it and cringe. But you know, so if you switch off for any length of time, it's very easy as well to lose tempo. And that's that time morphing thing. I'm sorry, we'll stop talking about it in a moment. But like, if you think of, you know, when you're waiting for a bus, you've heard me say this before, many of you, and it's pouring with rain and you're desperate to get somewhere, the bus bus never seems to come. 3 minutes takes forever, doesn't it, when you're waiting for a bus in the rain? But if you're sat drinking a glass of wine in the sunshine with your best friend, then 3 minutes is like a blink of an eye. And somehow this is the same when we're playing music, even just bar by bar, even half beat to half beat, time moves for us weirdly. So we have to just like control the way we're thinking, the way we're counting, and then the environment, and in this case with the looper, you know, the backing of it to be able to help you stay in time. So Rebecca, I think it's a beautiful aim, and I definitely do use longer loops. You do hear people longer looping, but I think for anyone here that's interested in recording, you know, wanting, you know, when you're desperate to hear the hands together and they just won't do what they're meant to do yet, and you know, it's a great idea to record one line and then hear the other one underneath. Do it on something really cheap. And there's also, you know, like as I say, like something that exists on your phone already. And there are now, of course, all these things like the Acapella app where you can record in lots of parts of yourself. So if you want to do things like, you know, play a harp ensemble on your own, then there are, you know, apps that are now really accessible, and they're going to get more and more so, aren't they? There's also those options too. So Rebecca, that's why I wanted to talk about your thing tonight, because I just in case anyone else is interested too. But as far as your goal with it, you know, is totally achievable. It would just be, you know, working out how you were going to make it's just that one it's just keeping it in tempo for the whole duration. You know, most performances naturally speed up. Everybody, all of us here, and you know, even professional concerts and everything, you know, you hear the if you really set the metronome at the beginning and at the end, very often people speed up, even if it's only a fraction. It's just something that seems to be human nature. So it's yeah, a clicker track would definitely help with that, because if the longer the loop and the more you sped up, the more obvious it is when you click that button back to start the next bit. Rebecca, does that help or not?
No, that does help actually. I was thinking initially I was thinking about doing a whole piece, but I think it's a great idea to focus on part A or part B, and each of those is probably 8 measures. So yeah, it might not be completely out of reach. And also, I'm probably not one to put in anything purely percussive.
Yeah,
my
sure.
thing. But I can imagine myself turning the intro into 8 bars of arpeggios, and then
Lovely.
Those could be my 16th notes.
Yes.
And keep me on track. So I'll play with that. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, that's brilliant. I mean, if you think you guys have done Seo Garn with me, there's a bit when one of the harp parts comes in with semiquavers. Now, actually, they're quite hard to keep in tempo for the group because they're descending and everyone wants to race them. But they mark the 16th notes, and so often in Seo Garn, if we're racing, I do them in the opposite direction to try and keep us steady doing the 16th note. So yeah, this is all great. I mean, that's absolutely spot on. Sue says, "Is this the Acapella app?" I can have a quick look. Connect and record, edit, and share original music from your mobile. Yes, it is. It's really had its day with lockdown, because everyone's been recording themselves playing in group parts. So any of the things you see where they're like 4 people and they're all the same people playing music together on their own, then that's the Acapella app. Often it's the most famous one, I think, most used one. Right, okay then. Mary, would you like to ask me your question next, please? And then I will get you in to have a chat together, I think, if that's okay.
Right. Right. I've just unmuted myself. Yeah, hi. I checked and I did send an email via email, but anyway. Okay. So I've written down what it said.
Yep.
Which I think we may well have discussed before, is how to change pedals quicker and more easily. Because I'm very slow. I know that if you drive a car, it helps, but I'm still quite slow at changing them. And I just wondered if you've got any secret tips you could give several of us who've got pedals.
For some reason, I'm really sorry, the email, I've just looked again, it genuinely hasn't come in, but I've had a glitch with my website, so I wonder if it's something.
Well, it doesn't matter, they don't always arrive. I sent it on 14/24 this afternoon. I wish I
had my pedal harp. I should have got my pedal. I might get my pedal harp out in the break.
Right,
but anyway, so yeah, pedals, let me, how many of you guys here play a pedal harp at all? Is there anybody else? So there's a few of you, okay. So I mean, I'm just going to try and make sure that I think about the lever harpist with this as well then. So I'm just wondering if I bring up a picture of just so that it's there. I will. Right. Okay. So how to make pedals faster and more efficient. I mean, first of all, practicing them on their own. So I mean, Mary, just to clarify, actually, is it being fast doing the physical motion of the pedal, or is it being faster finding them with your feet and knowing where.
Both.
Oh, fine. Okay, that's great. That's fine.
I'm a bit dippy with it.
No. Well, first of all, no, you're not. Okay. I mean, how many of you have tried to play pieces with loads of levers in, for instance? And it takes a whole different ball game, and it takes a lot longer to learn. You know, if you've got loads and loads of levers or loads of pedals, you know, it's much more challenging. I bet, Mary, if you have like one F sharp, you have to put on halfway through the piece, you don't have a problem with that, do you?
No, that one's okay.
Exactly. Yeah, that one is okay.
I do that one.
Yeah.
And if I have to put a C in as well, yeah, I do those because they're just next to the next pedal. They're the easy ones to find. It's like getting a G.
Okay.
It's probably the worst thing.
Okay, so I am going to have to talk about this just from a pedal harp point of view for a minute, guys. So I hope you'll forgive me. Just for a minute, I'm just trying to bring up a picture of some pedals. Yeah, I've got these in Start Harp. Okay, so I'll just share my screen with you. Just for those of you who I'm sure you're all familiar with what the back of a pedal harp looks like. Anyway, so here's the back of a pedal harp, and here are the pedals. And you have 4 on one side, don't you? And you have the 3 on the other. So I think Mary's referring to the easy ones as these 2 here, because they are the ones that are easy for our feet to get to, because they're closest, yeah. And so you know, that's fine. And you may find, I don't know, Mary, but personally, I used to always finding the furthest ones not too bad either, because you reach your feet out and you know you've reached the final one, so that's okay too. And then you know, it then starts to be, you know, how do you make sure you don't get muddled up between these 2, which are F and G in the middle?
Yeah, they're the worst.
Pardon? Yeah, so yeah, they're the ones. Okay, fine. So there are various things that I would suggest. The first thing, you know, when I have a student move over from lever harp to pedal harp, you may have heard me say this before, some of you, I make them, it sounds really awful. I invite them, I suggest, I recommend that they try doing an exercise where you modulate a tune, you know. So you can all try this on your lever harps as well. If it was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, you know, in C major. Whoa, what have I got wrong down there? I detuned some notes. I think I must have something that I didn't retune. Yeah. Okay, I've got it. It's the D's. Okay, so I just have to remember these are going to be up for now. Right, that's going to mess up this, but never mind. Okay, so you've got Twinkle Twinkle in C. So if you want to get used to your pedals or your levers, you've got to use them. Okay, so it's very easy to sort of think, oh well, I'll stick to pieces that only have one little shift in or something like that. But you know, I would recommend working with your lever changes, your pedal changes away from pieces, so that you aren't, you know, torturing yourself trying to learn a piece and how to do your levers or pedals at the same time. But if you modulate your piece, what I'm trying to suggest here is that you move the tune, the tonal center of the tune. So I'm just going to mute you, Mary, for a moment, if that's okay. So if it was C to start with, there are various ways you can choose to modulate. You can go around the circle of fifths, but I will talk about that in a minute. That's the easier one to do in some ways, but you have to know the theory of it. But if you just went from C major, say you decided, right, I'm going to do D major next. Okay, so all I'm suggesting you do is then you move your pedals, which is F and C, and I'll talk about why in a minute. And then you do your, oh, I'm sorry, I've got this reaching note. I'll do it up high. So I went from C, just to that one more time, because I had to mess around with my octave. And then moved it by doing into D major, by doing the F and C. And then you can move it into E, so you're going up one more step again. Now, lever harps, you are now stuck. You can't go any further. But of course, if you're doing it on the lever harp, I would suggest you started it in E flat, because you will have more to play with. So, and then going up to at F, G, A, M. So you can do it that way. You can go through the sharps and through the flats doing this. So Mary, you might be thinking, why on earth would I want to do that, and how on earth is that going to help me? Well, here's the thing: if you go up by a tone or a step like we just did, you'll find your pedals go in pairs. So I wish this was a C major setting. I bet I can find the C major setting. Hang on a minute, if you don't mind bearing with me for a moment. You know, from the point of view of a lever harp player, you know, it's just going to get you familiar with, you know, thinking I'm moving to this key, I need these levers. It's a very quick way of doing it. It also gets you to work in using chords 1, 4, and 5 and changing key. So it has loads of benefits. And to start with, it might feel like walking through mud, but then once it gets easier, it's going to stay with you for a long time and be helpful. I just want to find the C major pedal picture if I can, just because it'd be easier. D to A to G. Sorry, I thought that would be quick, but sadly it isn't being quick. F to D. Oh, no, never mind. I give up. I'll just show you one. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So if I just zoom in though on the pedal harp photo here. So Mary, when we move from C major to D major has an F sharp and a C sharp, which are these two pedals here. So they're not the middle two. They're not the ones nearest to you. Okay, they're the next two out. And then when you move up a step again, hang on, what did I have to do that one? I had to do D and G. Yeah, I was just panicking for there. So when you look at that, it's actually going to be this pedal here, Mary, and that pedal there. So you've moved out in pairs. I'm not managing, I wish I could explain this better. I wish I had two mice that I could point in two different arrows. But yeah, so they go in pairs. So every time you go up a step, tone, and you change the key, and it wouldn't matter, you don't have to play a piece. I realized that the piece makes it harder. If you were just doing like scale of C major, and then you change key and you go in and you play a scale of D major and scale of E major, what you will find, Mary, is that you operate in pairs on the harp. Now, why do I think this is relevant? Because so often, once I realized this, you see it again and again in more chromatic or more moving music, so more music that moves harmonically more. You will find that you're moving in keys where you often are using pairs of pedals, and the pairs of pedals are not always at all, but they are frequently these pairings. They're pairings of C and F together, or B flat and E flat together, or maybe B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat. And you find that actually what happens is that, and presumably this is why whoever, I should say whoever made this, I can't believe I can't actually just pull that off my tongue, but I can't tonight. But it was designed this way because, I presume, because of the way that music moves around. So that's a great way to practice getting familiar with your pedals. And then another thing then would be to follow the circle of fifths with this. So because that would make you do two pedals, Mary. So I think that's great for learning common pairings of pedals. But if you want to learn single, just how to get fluent at one pedal at a time, I'm just going to open up a circle of fifths if I can find it. I know I'll find it fairly quickly. Oh, right, it's here somewhere. If anyone can see the circle of fifths and shout it out to me, somewhere it says here. It'll say think theory, the circle of fifths. Moving on techniques, the thumb slide, no. Oh, it's on the next one down. It's what I'm teaching myself cadences at Kinkham. Circle of fifths, got it, right, okay. So if you were going to just do one pedal at a time, you can pull yourself around the circle of fifths. So here's the circle of fifths. If you've never seen one of these beautiful things, these are amazing. Spend some time with the circle of fifths. They are your friend. Okay, so Mary, you could start at the, on this one, I've got C at the top. You could start at the top of your circle of fifths, okay? And you could say, right, okay, I'm going to go into G major. So you have to do an F sharp. Okay, then you can move one step around the circle again. I'm going to go into D major. I'm going to put on my C sharp. I'm going to go into A major. I'm going to put on my 3 sharps. I'm going to go. Now, this may sound very boring. I'm afraid it will be, but you could play a scale each time, so you could be practicing on your technique. And it won't be boring because it's exciting when you know that you're moving forward to something. And as a pedal harpist, you can keep going around the whole circle. And when you get to here, you get into enharmonics, so that's not so handy. But you could then go back into naturals and move the opposite direction. Or if you are feeling like really challenging yourself, you could go all the way around, but you'd have to start at the bottom and go all the way around. So you'd have to start with 6 flats on and go all the way around and come back to 7 sharps. But you can do that, Mary, so that you're getting used to doing one pedal at a time. So a scale, change one pedal, another scale in the next key, change one pedal, a scale in the next key, change one pedal. And lever harpists, again, if you want to really get fluent in your key, if you want an exercise that's going to enable you to get fluent at keys and at lever changes, and really sort of thinking about your harmony, if you harmonize, if you were doing a tune, then this is great too. You would just need to know if you're E flat tuning, you start from here. So I think I show it. Yes, here you go. So on an E flat tuning harp, you would just use the top of the circle. On an A flat tuning, you could just start one further along down here and stop at A the other side. Is that right? I think so. Yes, it is. So stop at E the other side. Stop at E the other side. Okay, so those two things, Mary, that jump out to me for just practicing, really just engaging with each one. Another thing that I definitely spent a lot of time doing is just I tap the pedals. So, you know, orchestral playing, you often get a lot of time sitting doing nothing. I don't do loads of orchestral playing, none at all anymore at the moment. But, you know, so if you're waiting, you know, very often, you know, I sort of might forget what my pedal settings were, or did I change them at the end of the last entry, ready for the next entry? I don't know. So I tap round on the harp, and I'm sure you already do this. But, you know, you thinking, you know, up, middle, middle, down, 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 middle, up, whatever it might be. So you're just feeling your way. And, you know, it's worth doing that, you know, change a key and then go round it. So if you're an A flat, for instance, I think of A flat as the castle key because it goes up, middle, up, middle, middle, up. So, you know, it looks like castellated terrace. Yeah, I'm sure I've said this a few times recently, but it goes up, it's jaggedy. But, you know, if you, when you put yourself into key, actually tap your foot round, name what it is, you know, rather than just saying, you know, in your head that you're on the D, C, B pedal, literally say to yourself, D flat, C natural, B flat, you know, go around and name them very specifically. And again, it might a little bit feel like walking through mud to start with, but the more you do that, the more you're just connecting up all these ideas through your head and your physical body, and, you know, say them out loud, even if you can face it, because that helps our learning too. And so that will also help you just sort of engage with them. I'm just trying to think other things I would do is, you know, I, as a student, you know, get the train loads of places, or horrible, I remember I used to get the megabus a lot. Oh, the 501, I think it was Aberystwyth, that used to take hours. Anyway, so I'd be sat there and I would practice my pedal shifts, you know, sat in the coach. So you'd be practicing moving your feet around, thinking of them. Lever harpist, I don't think that particularly helps you, but the one thing that I would suggest for lever harpist, practicing your changes, Anne Maria Farrell is your woman for fast lever changes. If you want to see someone like really like absolutely nailing it on lever changes, go and check her out. But something that I would say that I have done for myself if I've been struggling is I practice it, and you know this about me, with my eyes closed. Okay, so if you're finding a lever hard to find, practice it, and then try practicing, you know, saying to yourself, you know, I won't be able to do this. I don't know my levers well enough, I'm sure. But okay, so I'd be like, right, okay, I'm going to do an F sharp in a minute. I'm going to be down here, and then I've got to come up and do that. So I practice, sorry about the dodgy tuning tonight, right, that one, then I practice moving, first of all, just moving, maybe without even playing, where I'm going to be, where I start, where I want to go, and then maybe where I want to go back. Actually, I usually do the three. I usually go where I'm playing before I do the lever, touch where I'm going to, and then touch where I've got to go afterwards. So it's 3 steps, isn't it? Before the lever, the doing of the lever, and then where you land afterwards. Or if it's the right, then you'd be doing the same thing, you know, where you're before, where you're landing, and where you're going back to afterwards. And then practice those things silently a few times, just so that you get used to it. So I'm imagining I'm going from an F to an F sharp to a C, F sharp lever to a C, F, and then I just try and close my eyes and see if I can get close. Okay, I managed it that time. I didn't manage it that time, so I go to myself, okay, you were slightly low, try it again, close my eyes, try it again. Okay, did you see I still fumbled when I did it? I've gone too high. So this is going to take me a while. Okay, I got it right that time. But getting it right once isn't enough. You need to get it right 10 times or 20 times in a row as well, to really convince yourself that you know it. But if you close your eyes and practice these, what are you doing? You're putting it into your muscle memory, aren't you? Okay, so you're taking away that kind of like, whoa, my glasses just fogged up, I can't see, or whatever it might be. You're taking all that pressure off yourself, and you're just going back into muscle memory. And if you spend most of the time on one harp, you know, if you move around lots of different harps, it's slightly different. But if you spend most of the time on one harp, you can get to know your harp from you to where your harp and where everything is, really from your muscles. And that's phenomenal, isn't it, if you think about that? So that's my only real tip with lever changes. If you want to go and really learn how to be a wizard, go and check in with Anne Maria Farrell. But that's memorizing your keys really well. Actually, I do have one other tip for levers, which is for more fledgling players. You know, if you find it difficult to see which levers you've got wrong on your harp, I used to find this really, really hard. So I'd be sat here, and maybe I think I have it's my brain, but I'd find, Sarah just gonna bung some random levers up. I'd look at the harp and I'd be like, I can't see which one's down and which one's up. I mean, I didn't have the luxury of these little reds and blues on the harps I began on either, but I literally couldn't see it. And it wasn't until I started teaching, and you sit, if you're teaching with one harp, which I spent a lot of time doing in various places, not always, but then you're sat here and the student's there, and suddenly I was like, it's really obvious that they haven't done that lever there. because when you're sat here, you can see the patterns. It's beautifully visual. Whereas when you're sat looking here, you can just see all these crisscrossing things all the way down, can't you? And so if you ever are feeling a bit phased in any way, or then just subtly look at them from the side. You don't want to make a big thing of it if you're doing a concert. You're like, right, okay, hang on a minute, yeah, okay, down, down, up. But it will help if you just pull away and just check. Then that's for me, that was a big change around when I realized sitting in the teacher position, I could see it like it was just, and then I realized how the teacher always knew instantly when you'd missed one, whereas when you're sat doing it yourself, it's harder. So those are my 2 tips for lever players that I can think of right now. There's one more thing I want to say to Mary. I hope you'll forgive me if I talk about pedals one tiny bit more though. So the other thing to talk about would just be on technique of pedals, Mary. So if you're finding them hard, to not slide on or fumble on, as in like be clunky with and things, spend some time really getting to know trying to do them. Try doing just let me just see if I can bring up a picture again. Try and do them so you just practice moving them down but not slotting them. So just down and not slotting them, so you're getting used to where the point is that it would go, and where it changes the mechanism, but you haven't engaged it. Because also, apart from anything else, that's a useful technique anyway, because quite often you don't need to engage a pedal if it's only for a few notes. You can just push it down and then release it. But if you get used to the point where it actually changes, then after that you've just got to notch it, haven't you? So it's a really good thing to get used to doing, is to just doing them without notching them, so that you can hear and feel how that works. And then really in your mind's eye, think of the L shape or whatever it is. Think of the right angle. Sorry.
I know.
So that you are imagining as you're doing it, think of the shape, so that it's I would think of myself as doing lazy pedaling, where I was just I just stamp that one down, because you can just stamp them down and they kind of fall into the place because you're forcing them down there. But if you actually think of the shape and guide the pedal really very carefully into the slot, then you're much less likely to make a clunk or a noise. If that's something that's worrying you. So there we are. I hope that's helpful. And guys who are on pedals, I hope I've covered a few extra things that might be interesting for you.
The only one thing I would say was the fact that if you're just moving from a flat to natural and you're holding it there, you may get a buzz when you send it back up to flat.
Well, you have again guide it. Yes, you could. It's very easy if you don't engage one. It's very easy to buzz. You have to really get to know the point. So it's sort of practicing just doing levers or just doing pedals in their own right.
Right.
You've heard me say so many times. It's like strip something back till it's so easy that it doesn't feel hard anymore. So if it's playing something in a piece that's hard, strip it back to just doing the pedal work or just doing the lever work, and it will be so much more. It will help you so much faster than trying to do 3 or 5 or 20 different things at once, like we so often are in music, to just do that one thing. But yeah, Mary, as far as that's concerned, I don't know why, a pair of scissors, because I've been cutting out things.
But if you
push down the pedal with your foot, guide it down, and then really guide it back, so rather than like, okay, I've done the pedal, it's in, and foot off, really, bring it down and stay with it, guide it in and let it go. And the same with going up, don't be like, okay, it's out the slot. There you go, done, job done. Then you're going to get boing, twang. Guide it, let it go up, and then release afterwards, and that's going to really, and when I'm saying it like that, I'm thinking when I talk about that idea of, squeezing the string and then coming away later so you get a rounder tone. It's making me think of that with the foot. You put your foot down and you go with it so that it's actually, you're guiding it, just like you might, touch someone's back and help them through a doorway gently, to be friendly or whatever. You wouldn't just be like, right, there you go in there, off you go. You'd be like, come on with this way, so there we are. I hope that was
thank you very much indeed. That's a great help. Thank you. I'll mute myself now.
Okay, thank you very much for the question, Mary. It's appreciated. Have it an interesting, and I hope lever harpist, that wasn't too much. I was surprised with that app. I only made 2 videos and it started telling me that I had followers. It was scary. Jane, that's very cool, isn't it? Jane, would you mind I'll get you all to chat to each other in a second, but Jane, would you mind just telling us how you got on with the Acapella app for anyone who's interested?
It wasn't difficult at all. You don't have to have somebody else taking care of the camera.
Yeah.
To get the pictures to be together with the harp, you had to try it out so that you knew that the harp, and especially if I was singing with it as well,
everything that you wanted was in the shot. Yeah.
The problem was that I was doing something when I did the thing with like at least 3 or 4 harps in the picture.
Yeah.
I had to sing in the first shot because otherwise, when you have the earphones, I was doing it with like the hands-free from the iPhone.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so I had to sing into it the first time because otherwise it just wouldn't work out and sound good.
Okay, that's interesting. And actually having a good pair of headphones for something like that, you know, might be useful. I mean, I use my headphones for my Apple phone as well.
So no Bluetooth on anything. It goes off if you have Bluetooth. But the first time you can record it like normally, but
yes,
in the certain port you have to have all the
yeah. Okay, brilliant. And but you found it fairly easy to work with by the sounds of it, though. That's cool. Okay, there we are. Well, Rebecca, there's another option for you. Brilliant, fantastic. Okay, guys, I would love you to chat to each other rather than me gabbling on at you because it'd be lovely for you to talk to each other. So I would love you to, if you're willing to just spend a few minutes. Let's see if we can open the floor to discussing ways of motivating ourselves to get to the end point with a piece. Now, I'm sure we're all, and not that you ever end a piece, but you are all very motivated players because you're here and you do lots of things online at the moment and everything. But sometimes, I don't know whether you guys feel like this, it can be very easy to kind of get almost there with a piece and then maybe never quite polish it, or maybe quite get to the end point, or maybe quite get to the point where you are going to perform it to someone, whatever it might be. And so I just thought it'd be useful to talk about ways that we motivate ourselves, or we find external ways to motivate ourselves to do that. So I wonder if anyone is willing to, whether you all have no idea what I'm getting at here, but but I'm sure you do. What sort of things do you find that you, I mean, particularly at the moment? So for instance, I'm sure Richard won't mind me saying, he's really sad. He's hardly picked up his horn in a year. So he normally goes to orchestra once a week, plays or more than that. I mean, once or twice a week. So he's feeling a bit sad, I think, with himself because he's not managed to motivate with everything else that's going on in life to do that, to do his practice. So and I, this time last year, in fact it was pretty much like a week ago last year, my recording session for my next CD got cancelled because the recording guy wasn't very well, and then the rescheduled date never happened. So I feel I haven't managed to motivate all year to do anything about recording anything. So I'm seeking for myself now ways to try and motivate myself this year to get the next CD done. So is there any some positive thoughts of ways that you are motivating, or you would like, or you found at work? Linda, you've got your hand waving. You're going to open the floor up. But you will need to unmute, Linda, because now you might be telling us the most important thing we've ever heard in our lives and we didn't hear it.
I play the piano as well, and I was learning a piece that was very difficult for me, and I got going on it, and then I flagged as I played it through.
Okay.
My wonderful piano teacher said, at this stage, she said, practice the beginning so you get into it, and then get to know the end very well indeed.
Yes.
And then come back to the middle, because when you've flagged and then you're reaching the end, your confidence is restored.
Yes, that's lovely, isn't it? That's a really great piece of advice. Absolutely. Yes, that starting from the beginning thing, we can find that we often polish the beginning of a piece and then it just gradually sort of fades off. So practicing in any random point is something I often talk about, but that's lovely, the thought of practicing thinking beginning, middle and end. That's lovely. Fantastic. Okay. Anyone else want to, or shall I let you talk without me being here? Are you more likely to talk to each other? Jill's thinking about talking. No.
Am I allowed to ask? Oh.
Yeah, go on, Linda. Yeah.
Just going back to your pedals.
Yes.
I found it incredibly difficult for anybody else who's switching or enjoying, mainly having been a pianist, to then going to using the foot pedals. They go the wrong way. The sharps go down and the flats go up, and it's taken me a year to get muscle memory into that.
And it's also it's different from the lever harps as well, isn't it?
That's not a problem, because some harps go up and some go down. They're all slightly different on the levers. You've got to know.
Yeah.
But my question is, what sort of shoes do you wear, and do you have a flat shoe or a heel?
Okay.
Or does it depend on the pedal?
I think it depends on you as a person, like your physique, because I was told to never I was told to play in ballet shoes because I
Oh.
think I had teachers who were very tall and elegant and long legs and I'm 5'0" with like tiny with size 4 feet. So for me let me back up on that for a moment. On a pedal harp, the most important thing of all is that we don't get the most important thing for our bodies is that we don't have the weight of the pedal harp on our shoulder at all times. And that we're not hurting our spine while we're playing, because if we mess up our spines and our shoulders and our arms, we're never going to play the harp anyway. So thinking back onto that, if you then think that you want to be able to have your feet on the floor whilst mostly, particularly if you're in a really busy pedal piece, if you want to be able to have your the base of your foot on the floor and be able to operate your pedals from a position where your foot is on the floor. I'm just thinking about showing you my foot and thinking that would be so weird. I can't do that. So anyway, but if you were, imagine this is my foot. Okay, imagine, and then my pedals here. Okay, so imagine you're pushing on your pedals. So it's if you're going from like the middle positions down, that's not so hard, is it? But if you're going from the flat to the middle, then you've got to reach up quite high. Now, if you've got small feet and a massive harp, which is, I have the Ariana that I was at university with is huge. Then it's very hard to do that from a ballet pump position. So therefore what happened to me was that I would lift my foot off the floor and then I would pedal without my feet on the floor. And therefore, if you think what that's like, if you're on a chair right, well, you're all on a chair right now. If you lift up, your heels, think what that does to the back of your spine straight away. Can you imagine then playing that from there and then trying to have the harp balanced by a point of balance on your legs? And then you're like all wobbly, or worse, you're letting all the weight go onto your shoulder as well and then dangling around. That's terribly bad for your posture. So, but if you have a lovely long legs and feet that you can wear flat shoes and still have them on the floor, then you're in a brilliant position to do that. And the ballet pumps are wonderful, or shoes with very soft fronts, because you can feel so well. You can feel your way around the pedals. So I totally get, and I liked it. I mean, I found it hard to move out of them. I really liked the way that you could feel your way around the harp. However, lots of people play in heels, and I have gone over. I mean, I've always lived in heels anyway, so I was very, I used to have to walk on with heels and change them, secretively. What was I going to say? But for me, so if you now think back to my foot, I wish I had something. I wish I had a high heel here, but you can imagine it. I'm sure you can imagine it. Okay, no, this is good. I can use my pair of scissors again. Here's the high heel. Look, here's the foot. This is the heel here. Okay, so now the heel can be on the floor, can't it? And you can pivot from the heel when you need to do the pedals. Now, of course, there are going to be certain times. For me, when I go up to the D flat, I still definitely have to lift my heel off the floor. But I can do the majority of my pedals then with my heel making contact with the floor, and so I'm not having to go completely, feet off the floor and no support on your back. Which, for if you were playing a piece that had loads of pedals in, that could be a real bad problem, couldn't it? I think. I don't know. I've had back pain and shoulder stuff in my life, so I've had to work at it. So coming back to what you were saying, the reason that people like soft front shoes or ballet pumps is because you can feel them, and it's much easier to travel between the pedals as well, and to make no noise on the pedals and all these things. The reason that people often wear heels, I think, is partly because they want to wear heels and they're jolly well going to learn to do the pedals in their heels, or it's because their body, they feel, it's for them, it works better physically anyway with them. And then your harpists, so we're really weird, aren't we, about our shoes then? We're like, well, they have to have a point because you can put the point in easily onto the pedal, a square front. If you get a really chunky front on it, I remember one of my students trying to play in Doc Martens, and they have a really big front, don't they? Now, how cool to walk on stage in Doc Martens and whatever, and play your harp. Why not? If that's what they want to do. But very hard to do your pedals with a really. So you do find you have to think about the shoe that you're wearing. I believe that there are whole articles written in like UK HA Harp magazine and the Harp column sometimes do articles on harpist shoes, because it's such a big thing. But it's divisive, I suppose, is the other thing to say. So I think it's like anything else, like pretty much everything with harp. I will say to you, listen to lots of people's thoughts on it, have a look, and then make up your own mind and base it on your comfort when playing and the beauty of your sound when you're playing. And that's all, because those are the things that matter, aren't they? Deep down, it matters how beautiful what we're doing. Are we playing in a way that we can make the beautiful sound, and are we comfortable while we're doing it? So yes, so Catherine Finch always plays in flats or ballet shoes. Yes, and this is probably, you know, one of the reasons I wanted to play in ballet shoes, because I'm sure I would have been like, I want to be like Catherine Finch and wear ballet shoes. It must be why she's such a genius. Sadly, the shoes didn't help, but you know. And then Caroline says, the saddest day of my life when I had to give in and admit that my feet could just not tolerate heels anymore. Yeah, Caroline, I think a year out of constant heels for me may have done some damage on that front. Anyway, okay. Yeah, anybody else want to talk about this anything else on this before we move on? You're not very keen to talk about motivation. I mean, normally I would say when I talk about motivating for pieces and things, for, you know, for performance, creating a space where you have to perform is always one of them. So, you know, in everyday life, you know, in life before all of this, you know, it's, you know, have a concert goal, isn't it? Or have a group that you play with regularly, or an ensemble that you go to regularly, or you know, or set up a concert, you know, if someone's going to have a raising money event for you know, for whatever, then you could, you know, offer to play in the background. So you've got a goal to work to. That's, you know, often is very motivating, isn't it, to have a reason. I've had students who've done it for, like, you know, people's parties. They've worked towards to do a song at someone's birthday or whatever it might be. You know, that can be very motivating too. And or even a play buddy. You know, accountability is not a word I love, but you know, someone that you know, play to, so you're like, you know, that you can trust them totally, and you know that it's going to be played just, you know, they're just going to listen for you, and so that can be really helpful too. And then I think, you know, recording yourself is a really good one. So in the current situations, really, you know, recording yourself is a really good go-to one. If you record yourself even once a month, if you're learning a really long, difficult piece, record yourself once a month, you will see a change. You just will. And then when you're on top of it, it's like, you know, you don't notice someone aging, do you, when you live with them every day, you know. Richard still looks 22, you know. So, you know, you don't notice because you see it, you see them every day. And it's the same, I think, when we're learning a really long piece. I wish Pat was in here. Pat, if you're watching the replay, please think of this. When you're learning a really long piece, it's really easy to think that you're not getting anywhere with it, but the changes are happening. So videoing yourself is really good. You don't have to show that to anyone. And at the moment, you know, playing to someone on Zoom, you know, or on phone, or even if pre-recording it and sending it to them can be a motivation at the moment. So those are the kind of things I was hoping we might come out with. But is there anything else anyone wants to add to it? And then I'm going to go and let you chat, because otherwise we won't have done that. You're all very quiet tonight. Okay, in that case, I'm going to put you in 2 breakout rooms, and I challenge you to think of one extra idea than the ones I just shot out at you on that, and then you can just talk about whatever you want. And shall we have a 15-minute chat session and then come back together? Would that be nice? Is that all right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I would say 10 minutes then, and then we can mix up. Let's do 10 minutes. So 10 minutes chat time, and then we'll come back and do another breakout session. You can have one all together as well. So I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. See if you can come up with one other way that you can self-motivate at the moment, that to help us keep going on a difficult piece. So I shall leave you. I'm going to send you now. Create the breakout rooms, and you can then, of course, chat about anything else. And hopefully, if you want to, come up with more questions. Brilliant. I'm going to assign the rooms automatically. I haven't chosen you, I promise. And I'm going to open the rooms and you'll get an invitation. Everyone looks very tired tonight. I hope you're all okay. I've just realised, if you're watching the replay, I'm now sat staring at my computer. I'm just wondering whether I should play. We all seem a bit tired tonight. So I'm just wondering whether I should play the Butterfly Festival piece, or show it to everyone, so that we've done. So I've done some playing, so that, in which case I can retune my notes, can't I? So let me open up that. Do you know what? I can pause the video, can't I? So you don't have to watch me faffing, and then I will be back. Okay, I'm resuming recording. How did you get on, guys?
We didn't talk about anything.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
I'm kidding.
You've all come back smiling, and everybody went away looking a bit serious, and I felt a bit glum. So I'm so happy you've come back smiling. So whatever you talked about, then it's obviously done its magic. That's great. Okay, anything heart related you want to share with me, or did you literally talk about nothing heart related?
We were talking about motivation in our group
Okay.
and saying that we should, what keeps us going. And a lot of the workshops that we've been able to dip into from other things other than Shelley,
Yes. Yeah.
like Bristol and West class,
Yes. Yeah.
Transpennine,
And slowly.
Harps Northwest with Shelley. And I hear that Shelley's going to do something for the Wales class branch.
Well, I offered. Yes, I offered.
Sometime.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, and of course there's the Edinburgh Harp Festival soon,
Which is in a fortnight.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can't wait. I've signed up for things. I'm really excited. Yes, you're right. And actually, that's the thing, normally when we're going to Heart weekends and events, thank goodness we can do everything like this, but, I don't know, the Edinburgh Harp Festival and things like that, it takes me about 3 months to come down from going to a festival like that, and you go home and you're like, I'm going to practice every day. I'm going to do like 5 hours a day and blah, 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 blah. And then 3 months later, you've kind of forgotten, but you go back again and it's great, isn't it? The Harp festivals are absolutely hugely motivational, as is watching people playing, listening to CDs, watching on YouTube, all those things. So yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, that's everything? That's okay. That's marvelous. Well, I'm just gonna see if there are any other questions then, because we've got quarter an hour longer. If not, I thought I could show you the butterfly. Yeah, hi Linda. Okay, brilliant. Yes, please do unmute. I will show you the Butterfly Festival and make sure that you all know what you're up to with that, if you'd like me to. Linda, yes, go for it. I can't hear you yet. I'm sorry, Linda. I always try and lip read and I can't.
The red cover behind me is over the first harp I ever got.
Okay.
Which is about 110 years old.
Lovely.
And it's gorgeous tone. I'm only the third owner.
Okay.
But it's a Salvie McFall and it has plastic levers. It's so old.
Right, okay.
And David Williams from Lion and Healy said, I don't know what we'll do if ever a lever seizes up and breaks. Do any of you either met plastic levers and had them replaced, or do any of you know 3D printers who would take on such a task? And if you don't know them now, could you keep your ears open and remember me if ever you come across it, please?
I have a friend, Linda, who has a 3D printer. She lives in Carmarthen in South Wales. So I know you from the Bristol branch. So yeah, I could get Shelley to ask Shelley to send your details to me, and I will contact her for you if you send me some pictures.
Okay. I hope it never happens, but thank you very much.
Okay.
And Sue, you were waving.
Yeah, I work at Loughborough University in the School of Design and Creative Arts, so we have printers. 3D.
Oh, lovely.
Sure, yes.
Lovely, thank you. Brilliant.
I was just going to say
it probably would have to be a student project or something, but
Yes, doesn't matter.
I don't know if you know Gerald in Monmouth, because he's very good with that sort of thing. So I don't know about making levers, but
okay, Gerald in Monmouth.
Gerald Fentler, he's very good in harp repair and.
What's his surname?
Fentler.
Fentler, thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant,
Kay,
thank you.
Also waving your hand, Kay, yeah.
I just didn't want us to close before you gave us the link for submitting.
Say that one more time.
Excuse me?
Sorry, say that again, Kay.
I wanted to be sure you gave us the link for submitting our piece for the
ensemble. Yes. So this is what I was saying at the beginning, that I'm afraid I hadn't sent it out yet. I'm extending the deadline. So the deadline will now be the 5th. So the 5th, I didn't know, the 5th of April, not the 6th. I was toying with the 2 dates. Which I've just checked is 3 whole weeks from now. So look, I've extended it massively. Because the release date needs to be, I am going to release it on the 20th of April, which was the date this ensemble went online, to mark our year anniversary of meeting together globally. So you have got that time. And I was just saying actually to Susan, who's had to go, that this time, I know that last time I gave everybody a clicker track and I said, if you're a novice, just do the first one. If you are a little bit more advanced, do the first 2 parts. And if you are feeling really like going for it, do all 3 parts. And lots of people got very, I think, disheartened. I got several emails, not lots of people, but several people sent me emails saying, I wanted to do all of them and I had to give up on the counter melody and things like that. And I think by giving the clicker track with everything in, it put people off. So this time you will get more than 1 clicker track. I'm just going to warn you up front. So there will be one that is just for people only doing 8 bars. And then for people who are going to do more, so that the people who are only going to do 8 bars don't have to feel bad that they're not doing the rest of it, basically. And then I think people will hopefully put less pressure on themselves, because this is just about us all coming together, and being able to sort of be in the same space, which we can't do at the moment. And I always feel very emotional when I see it come together. It's really special. So please do submit if you can. It's definitely not about sitting at home and doing 50,000 takes of something and feeling demoralized. So please just try and be in a happy space about it, and do what feels comfortable for you at the moment in time when you press that record button. So yeah, don't put pressure on yourself to learn the whole piece.
I being new, do you usually give that link out a certain number of weeks before, or?
So it's all been very organic, Kay. I'm learning on the job this year, if you know what I mean. You will be very kind to me because, I've never done it. Lockdown happened and my job changed out of all recognition. And the ensemble went online, and, we're used to playing in village halls and great glass houses and all sorts of random spaces, aren't we, Jill? And Francis and Marion and Caroline and who else? I'm sure there's others of you here. So this is, Kay, I have to say I haven't had a set way of doing it. I've been finding my feet with it too. But what will happen is there's going to be a teaching video this time, which I haven't done before, specifically teaching what you need to be able to do as a separate entity, whereas normally I just do it in the class. So there's a teaching video, then there'll be the clicker tracks which you record to, there'll be a link that you then upload your project to, and then you'll get notified about the launch day, which will be the 20th of April, I presume at 8 p.m. I will keep this time the same as well, so it'll be at 8 p.m. What I haven't decided is whether to do it as part of a mini concert or whether just to release it, but I will let you all know when it when I
okay.
I've been extremely busy with other courses. I'm sorry, and it's all been a bit. This year's been a bit of a muddle for me so far, I have to be honest. But there we are. Oh, wonderful. Okay, so are there any other questions, guys? I feel like today I'm fishing for questions, and I was so sure I was going to get something amazing, because normally that's what happens. So come on, guys. What is it? What would you like to ask me? Is there anything you wish I was doing that I'm not? I was thinking that's something I could ask you some questions. What are you enjoy? What is there? I write pieces by request, really. And so with the immersions, I write pieces that teach a certain element. With my courses, I write pieces that teach a certain thing. I know Mix It's very popular, for instance. Would you like another thing like Mix It? Would you like another thing like Carnarvon's Calling? You can let me know, if there's a particular piece, or if you wish courses again, I will always keep asking you guys if there's anything particular you want me to teach. Anything like that, or is there anything you wish you could ask? You might think it's the silliest thing ever, but it won't be. Is there anything you can think of tonight? If not, I'll show you into the Butterfly Festival.
Shelley.
Yes, go on then, Caroline.
Yeah, I've got a question. Yes. Is the Botanical Gardens definitely off this year, or do we not know
it's definitely
yet?
well, it's definitely off from the point of view of I haven't got a weekend. I haven't been booked. He can't book, I have no booking to go there. So normally I'm booked every year to go and do a harp festival at the Botanic Gardens, and it was pulled last year, obviously, and there was no budget at all for them to do any thing, so they're not booking anything at the moment at all. So hopefully we'll be back in person the year after. I am going to do a weekend again, like I did last time, virtually. I just haven't set a date for that. but I will do what I did last time. But added to that, Caroline, and this is not off the record at all because I'm saying it to you guys, but I sort of think that we could offer to go and play. You know, I wouldn't go up and do all the things I normally do. I wouldn't go up and play a concert and do workshops and stuff. But should the environment, you know, allow us, I'm sure we could go and play outdoors up there if we want. You know, I don't think they'd say no, you can't come. But I am not booked to do a harp festival, so I'm going to earmark a date, and I will do a virtual thing. And then if the world allows, then I think we might possibly be able to do something, but please don't hold me to that, because you know I just don't know. But yeah, I have no booking. I have no gigs. It's fine, I'm cool with that, it's fine. Okay, Ethna, yes, what did you want to ask me?
No, it wasn't what I wanted to ask you. It just occurred to me.
Yeah. Wouldn't
it be cool, everybody, if maybe in 2022, if we had a retreat, not just play at the Botanical Gardens, but everybody get together for like 4 or 5 days and take a bunch of courses from Shelley and her friends.
Did I not send Jill a text saying something like this the other day? I sent you a text. I think it was you, maybe it was Emily. I said there are a lot of decisions to be made, because I think this would be amazing, because we've talked about getting together and having virtual, you know, having the white wall with all the projections of everyone playing together. I'm going to do that, whatever, but maybe that happens as part of a mini or a 5-day retreat or whatever, so that we can actually all get to hang out. I mean, yes, this is definitely in my head, Ethna, so I'm really excited that you brought that up. I've talked about it before. I've talked about Start Harp retreats, because there are lots of people that since 2016 have all learned the same pieces in the same courses. So there are like all these pieces that people have learned. Flourishing Harpists, you've all learned a set of pieces. You know, we could get together, and one of the things we could do is, you know, each night have a playthrough of the pieces from a certain course, even, as well as doing some workshops in the day or whatever. So there's all sorts of cool things we could do. But yeah, no, I absolutely agree, and I'm delighted to know you think that's a cool idea too. So just out of curiosity, you said 5 days. I mean, that's quite intense. I would have to get another tutor in for that. I couldn't do a whole 5 days.
That's why I said you and your friends. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I think, or at least 3 days or something.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm thinking about the ones that I've been on here. 3 is good, 4 is better, but yeah. I mean, I was just saying 5 just because we're coming from far away.
Yeah,
and maybe
I know, yeah. I mean,
the first day and the last day are just play days.
Yes.
You know, just hang out.
Yeah, hang out, and yeah. I mean, the thing is the Wales International, sorry, the World Harp Congress is coming to Wales. Hopefully, it was meant to come last year. Hopefully, it's coming. You know, if the World Harp Congress came, I don't think anyone could possibly mind if I did something before or after the World Harp Congress. And therefore, you know, then it would give people the option to come here for the World Harp Congress and then spend 5 days as a fair play, whatever we want to call it, hang out, I don't know. So that's another thing that I had thought of. But then, of course, that's a long time away then. You might think, well, I don't want to do that. But anyway, so these are the things that I've been floating past my head. So yeah, please do let me know. Ethna has, you've brought it out. So if anybody else wants to bring it out. Mary says most courses are weekends, e.g. Friday to Sunday, lunchtime or tea time. Yeah, this is true. But then there are things that are slightly longer as well, aren't there?
No,
yeah,
but I mean, if you had the booking for that weekend, let's say, and have a day on either end, at least we would still get retreat pricing, let's say.
There's a
beautiful
place.
And then we assured that we have a spot to crash.
Yeah. There's a beautiful place called Kinkham, which is where the piece at Kinkham I wrote was written, which is a retreat centre. So I always have that in my head, but I'm not sure it'd be big enough for what we might want. So yeah. Cool. Okay, I feel like I'm really clutching at straws tonight. We're normally full, or sometimes we're full. So is there anything else? I feel like I'm not clutching at straws. That was not a straw to clutch at. That was like a really cool concept, by the way. But I feel like I'm filling slightly tonight. Go on. Is there something else? Ethna's going to go.
I have another question.
Is it going to be another like now, Shelley? We should hold a harp festival now. Yeah, carry on.
Not that big. No, this is just something that occurred to me the other day. So you know when we were talking about pentatonic scales, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we talk about the pentatonic scales being the black keys of the piano.
Yeah.
Can a pentatonic scale start on any note?
Oh, I wish you'd asked me this question a few minutes ago.
Full steps and half steps?
Okay, if you need to go now, please do, but you know I can't resist a question. Let me just see if I can open up this file. I literally did this the other day. Pentatonic basics. Look, I found my file straight away. Is it going to come up? Yes, pentatonic basics. Right, okay. This isn't written beautifully. I haven't done this as a handout. So look at that. That's exactly what you just asked me. So the major pentatonic, and it's got W for whole. Why have I written that there? Oh, I see. Whole and so I didn't. Anyway, whole is tone. So for those of you who work in tone, semitone, tone, whatever, then that's you need to think that the whole equals a tone and a half is a semitone. So a pentatonic scale is built up of whole tones and 1.5 tones, and that is why they are so beautiful, because so I read, and it makes sense, the absence of semitones, half steps, make it always sound pretty, because it's the semitone crunch that sounds so crunchy when we play them, isn't it? So yeah, and you can use, just like you can tone, semitone, tone, semitone for a major scale, you can use these patterns to get your pentatonic scales. The pentatonic picture is bigger than this one though, Ethna. There are loads of pentatonic scales, and these are the ones that, this is the one that we in Western harmony, we tend to, when we say pentatonic, we tend to mean a major pentatonic scale. It turns out I read about it and was like, oh, okay, I missed the point there. But the easiest way for working one out is to go into a major scale and then miss the 4th and the 7th degree. So okay, that's the easiest thing to remember. So the missing the 4th and 7th degree of the major scale gives us the most commonly referred to pentatonic scale in Western harmony, whatever. And also, this is cool. You know, I went on about my love of the circle of fifths. You can follow the circle of fifths to build your pentatonic scale. So you could choose any point on the circle of fifths, and you can go around it and go find the 5 letter names. So and then you would probably write them down and just work them out in order, so you weren't jumping around your harp going like this. Whatever, I'm in the wrong key again for that, but you know, you can find your pentatonic scale by just using the circle of fifths as well. So isn't that cool? I love geeky facts like that. Cool. So yeah, this isn't beautifully written, but I will screenshot it and put it into the
I took a picture group.
Oh, you took a picture? Oh, well, I don't need to, unless anyone else wants it. Does anybody else want this? Shall I? I mean, it's, as I say, it's not branded or anything, because this is, I haven't made it perfect in any way. But there we are. Cool. Thank you for that question. Yes, is the answer. You can do it on anything you like, and you can follow the whole step half step rule.
Thank you. I've got to go, guys. See you later.
See, if you'd asked that before, I would have gone into them and I would have given you improvisations and stuff. But that it's a great question all the same. So, but just know, everyone, I'm sure you do already, that pentatonic scales are great for just improvising in. And if you are, even if you're trying to work out something that's got difficult rhythm, for instance, on it, putting your harp into pentatonic scales, so you just practice the rhythm of something without being able to sound wrong, can actually be really handy. So if you've got something that you're finding difficult to get, like, you know, say it's got loads of offbeats or something in it that you're finding hard, if you put your harp into a pentatonic scale and with harmonics and stuff, then it will all sound nice, and then you're free from going wrong and making it sound bad, and you can just focus on your rhythm. So it can be like an intro in between clapping and playing the whole thing to do that. My favorite pentatonic, I'm sure you all know this, and I will let you go, is to put on D sharp and G sharp all the way along the harp, so that then you get your enharmonics if you're an E flat. And that's the best one of all. If you haven't written that down somewhere, it's so worth it. If you're in E flat major tuned lever harp, put all your levers down and then raise the D and the G. You get 2 enharmonic notes, which means you get the 5 notes over your 7 strings, the 5 different pitches over the 7 strings, and then you can play anything. Thank you for that question. Cool. You need to go now too. Thanks, everyone. Right. Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. It's been really lovely to connect tonight.
Thank you, Shelley.
Recording. And then if anyone wants to chat to each other, you're welcome to afterwards. But thank you very much this evening. And next time, let's draw more questions out. I will come prepared with extra questions just in case. But next time, you're going to all come with even more questions. I know it. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's been good. Yeah.